One new thought that I have about others that I got from this project was that we need to respect other minorities because we don't, at least I don't really realize like exactly what they're going through coming from a whole nother culture and then suddenly coming into our culture, and it's just like I'm sure it's a lot different for them. And for example, when I went out to dinner with a kid on my floor who's from Africa, he was like telling me how hard it was to be away from his family and how it was like different because he has to like get used to like the new food and just everything here. So I think we really need to just be aware of like how hard it is for minorities to be minorities, and this project has really made me realize what it is kind of like to be minority. For example, I also went to Arab night at the International Center, and I was like really exposed to the Arab culture, and I was definitely a minority there, and there was a lot of Arab people there, so that also made me realize like how it is to be um, a minority. So I think we just really need to see what others, just respect others for being like the culture that they are, and definitely just see like make sure we're respecting them for being the minority because now I know how it feels to be the minority. Okay, during these projects, I learned a lot about myself. One thing that I learned was that it's really important to learn about other cultures. Before this, I really didn't take the time to learn a lot about other cultures, and I didn't really see the importance of it, especially before college. I was like, oh, just like another history lesson, or like, oh, like I don't need to know about that culture. Like, I'm never really exposed to it. But now, coming here and having to do this project has really made me realize how it's important to learn about other cultures, and it also makes me like thankful for my culture and see how others could view my culture from theirs. Like at the Arab night I went to, I learned like how Arabs write and how it's different from American writing, and I think this is really important, especially because you can also connect it with your students, because who knows, one day I could be teaching students who are Arab. And it's also just cool to like see how other cultures are different than ours, because before this I never really had that understanding. And also it made me realize that I need to put myself in situations that I'm like going out of my comfort zone, because I've really learned a lot about going out of my comfort zone, because before this project I would have never have asked like a kid on my floor who's from Africa to go out to dinner or anything. And I just thought it was really neat how I learned a lot from that situation, and I would have never done that without this project. So I definitely realize how I need to be more outgoing, and especially with other cultures, because it's important as a teacher to experience other cultures. That way you can connect with your students more. But I think it's also cool for the people who are the minorities, like the person I went to eat with who's from Africa. Like he had the cool experience too, because obviously coming to America, he wants to like experience our culture, and I really gave him that chance to experience our culture by just like talking with me, and it also helped me to learn more about his culture and how different it is from ours. Um, so yeah, it was. I really learned a lot, not only about myself but also about other cultures and how important it is to learn about them. Okay, and finally, from the perspective of a global teacher, I think it's very important to put yourself in these situations with other cultures, because most of all, I think it's important for you to connect with your students, and you can really only do this if you have things in common. So like I went out to the Arab night and I learned a lot about the Arab culture, and I would have never done this if it wasn't for this project. But then after the project, a few weeks later, we went to the Dearborn schools, and there are so many Arab students there. And like, if I'd never went to the Arab night, I would have never like had like a realization, like never really understood their culture. But because I went to the Arab night, I was able to understand their culture, and I saw like the Arabic writing, and I was able to say like, oh yeah, I know that's Arabic, and I was able to connect with the students a little more because I did know about their culture. But like obviously as a teacher, you're not going to be able to learn about like every culture, but it's good to at least have an understanding of a lot of them, and like some knowledge so you can connect with your students, and that will not only make you more comfortable but also the student who is probably the minority if they're of another culture than your own. So you need to know how to make them feel welcome, and one way to do that is to be knowledgeable of their culture and to be able to connect with the students. So I think that's very important. And I also went out to dinner with one of the students from Africa that lives on my floor. And it's important to be able to just have things in common to talk about with them. And in order to be a good teacher, you also need to make all your students aware of other cultures. So like if I have a class that's mostly American, but with like a few kids from the Middle East, it's important for everyone to learn about their culture and vice versa. So I think it's important as a global teacher to definitely be culturally diverse and to open up to other learning about their cultures. And I definitely did that during this project, and it's definitely made me realize how important it is to learn about other cultures. And I never really have been exposed to other cultures before this year at Michigan State because I went to an all-white school all throughout school. So it's really cool to have the chance to be exposed to other cultures, and it's really the only time in my life that I have been exposed to other cultures. So it's really interesting for me, definitely, to see how different they are and to interact with people who are the minority, and also for myself to experience being the minority, and then I will like be able to understand how a student in my class would feel if they're the minority. So it's really a great experience, and overall the global competency projects have really opened up my eyes at how important it is to be culturally diverse and to opened up and be able to see other cultures, and I really had a great experience. So thank you. Bye.